Hatha practice, as I stated, we're just starting on our backs, nice and calm. Just letting our shoulders find their way down into the floor, letting the breath become easy and slow. And just kind of tap into how we're feeling today. Make some observations. You might have some physical tension hiding in your upper back or in your shoulders. You might have some emotional kind of things kind of coming up within the heart center as you rest here on the earth. And you can visit with all of those, but just take your time and let them go. Today's opening reading is entitled Our Legacy. When you were born, you cried, and the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries, and you rejoice. White Elk. We may not be rich or famous, and we may not be important to anyone other than our friends and family. Still, that's enough. We have our own legacy to build. How would you like your friends and family to remember you? How do they think of us today? The difference between the two things tells us what we need to do in the time that we have left. I have just one life in which to bring joy to others around me. So just let your body rest here on the earth. Maybe having a little bit of a reel, your highlights of the day flash behind your eyelids. Maybe taking a moment of gratitude for something that might have went well. But then I also want you to take a deep breath and just release anything that did not go so well. This is your space in the next 60 minutes to just let things go. They don't have to keep playing over and over in our minds. We can use this space to not only physically release, but mentally and emotionally release things as well. If your legs have been long on the mat, you might start to add just some gentle movement. Maybe bending the knees and walking them slowly up the mat, letting your spine rest on the earth. Maybe you let those knees sway a little bit, easy side to side. Stopping at the center, and then bring your right knee in towards your chest. Point and flex the toes, roll around the ankle, and then extend that right foot up towards the sky. So your hands are just resting along the back of the thigh. Just a hamstring stretch. Let that right knee come back down towards the belly, give it a nice hug here. And now give it a little bit more room. Maybe you even kind of rock around. You pull that knee off towards the right edge of your mat. Maybe you slip your left leg long down the mat if you haven't already. Just create a little bit more space. Bringing that knee back towards center, we'll let it come down to the floor and switch out to the other side. Opposite knee coming into the chest, giving it a nice hug, pointing and flexing the toes, and then switching grip to the back of the thigh, elevating that foot up towards the ceiling, rolling around at the ankle, pointing and flexing the toes. Getting that nice hamstring stretch again on the opposite leg. Maybe bringing that knee back down towards the belly, hugging it off towards that right edge of the mat. Maybe let your left edge of your mat, let it kind of hang off to the side there as you extend the opposite leg. Just like you did before, you're just trying to create some space here. Hip flexors, inner thighs, outer hips. Perfect. Bring that knee back towards center and then just bring the other knee up to join it. So now you got two knees at chest. Rocking easy side to side. You're gonna roll yourself all the way to your left side and just face here just for a moment. Pull your knees in close to the chest. Reach your right hand up towards the ceiling and then just let that right bicep come down by your ear and then stretch that right arm back up to the sky. So it's kind of just like you're waving that arm a little bit, playing with the shoulder joint. Maybe it even feels good to stretch that arm back behind you. Just see how that shoulder joint feels. Maybe even bending the elbow and circling it. One more breath, and then we're going to go to the other side. All right, take your time. You can always use your hands if you need to kind of press into the earth. Start to roll to the other side. Opposite arm maybe working like a pillow. Reach that other arm up to the sky. Maybe it moves in a circle, or you pull that bicep down by your ear, and then you send it back up tall. Maybe the arm even reaches back behind you like you did last time, kind of a little twisted shape. Or you just bring that back to center, bend the elbow, and draw some circles. All right, feeling safe here on your right side, hands will come down towards the earth, get a little push into the ground, and start to move up towards a seated posture. Now you can turn so that you're to the front of your mat if you'd like, and just find a tall seat. Hands reach out to the sides of the mat, spine is tall, close the eyes. Lift the shoulders towards your ears, and then just exhale them down. One more round at your own pace, up and down. Perfect. Hands coming into the heart. As you inhale, stretch these hands straight up overhead. See if you can go palm to palm. And then bend the elbows so that these hands tuck behind your head. Inhale, lift them back up. Exhale them down to your heart. A little bit more shoulder work. Lift that up. Bend the elbows. Take your time. Back up tall. Hands down to your heart. Hands moving to the fronts of the knees, and then we'll take a couple flexion breaths. So you know what to do. The belly comes through the middle, your chin lifts. And then you just take your time to get a little rounding in your back. And you can let this go really deep, or maybe it just feels better to be shallow. Last one at your own pace. Back up to a tall spine. Hands reach up high. Right hand falls down to the side as your left arm just stretches slightly over the head. Inhale, bring both hands back up tall. Let's let the other arm drop. Stretch over. Back up nice and tall. Both hands drop. Take your left hand towards your right knee. And then your right hand just starts to reach behind, gazing over that shoulder. Inhale, come back through center. Walk your hands to the opposite side, switching knees, switching the shape, twist in the other direction. As we know, our spine moves in 6 glorious ways, and we've just tapped into all 6. Bring that back to center. And then just move with me onto your knees. So we're looking for a tabletop pose next. If you want to pull a blanket or anything onto the mat, fold your mat over. Any kind of modifications you want to take, feel free. But we're looking for feet hopefully maybe flat on the mat. Taking a peek back between your knees, see if your toes can disappear. That works. And you just kind of sway this side to side. And then we're going to go forward and back. So just putting just some gentle pressure into those hands. Maybe you even curl your toes under, and as you shift your hips back, take kind of a puppy pose, and then you walk your hands just a little bit more forward so that when you come forward, you're into something that looks more like half plank, and you just rotate back and forth between those two shapes, kind of a puppy and a half plank. One more round. The next time you're forward at that half plank, go ahead and start to bend the elbows, lower the belly all the way down onto the earth, and just pause here. We're gonna find cobra pose, hands on either sides of the heart, just a gentle lift of that upper body, and then take it easy back down. So just 2 or 3 more of those at your own pace. Relax the shoulders down from ears, weight is in the pelvis, tops of the feet. Things are moving slowly at the pace of our breath. Nothing feels forced. We're in full control of how the body receives each one of these postures. After you finish that next cobra, just settle back down. Bring your hands forward in front of the head, make a little pillow. Bend the knees, flex the feet, and let those feet sweep themselves right and left. Moving yourself from this shape, hands will come back down, feet come back down onto the sides of the body there. Walk those hands a little further down though. We want them even with about your breastbone. Curl your toes under, push into the floor so that you're back up to your knees, and then find your first downward facing dog with me today. Walking out that shape. Letting the back side body really get some attention here. All right, beautiful. Right knee drops down into earth. Step that right foot all the way through. Those of you who are in person with me, I've just made the decision that I'm no longer going to mirror you. My brain can't handle it today. So when I say right, I'm going to actually use my right foot. I usually mirror you, but I can already tell it's going to be a disaster. All right, hands start to lift up tall. And then give me a cactus. So just let those arms open and then bring the hands behind the head. From here, you're just going to kind of play with a little tipping. It doesn't have to be a big tip. Maybe you tip away from that knee. Ooh, you can already tell that your side body says, yeah, this is more work than it looks, right? Those oblique muscles are tuning in. Hip flexors getting some attention. All right, the next time that you tip that right elbow towards your right side where that right knee is, stay there. Maybe drop your right hand down and keep that left elbow up. Yes. You should feel this from hip flexor on left side all the way up that left side wall, maybe through the tricep. Beautiful work. Bring it back to center, open back up to cactus, and then hands go up. Exhale them down. Step foot back into your downward dog shape. Knowing that you can drop here to child's pose if you need to. Breathe on through. All right. Right knee drops down, left foot steps through, so you should just be on the opposite side. So whatever you did last time, switch it up. Get comfortable there, and then start bringing those hands back up tall. So even though our hands are up and we've got upward energy through the fingers, relax those shoulders. Create that basket or that kind of connected bent elbows behind the head, and just start doing your tips again. So now that you know what's happening, you might have a little bit more forgiveness in your body. My back toes are flat on that back foot, which makes this much more challenging. If you'd like to curl your toes under, that might help with balance. That also might put a little more pressure on your knees. You might not like that. The next time you are to your left, stay same direction as that bent knee. Elbow stays on the head as that left arm drops. Side body. Hip flexor. Beautiful. Back up, open back to the cactus, and then arms go up on an inhale. Back to the earth on the exhale, step. You got child's pose or down dog, your choice. All right, giving your knees a little break. We're gonna walk the feet forward towards your hands. We're gonna be done with our knees for a few moments. Inhaling to find a half lift when you feel ready. Exhale back down. Inhale, reach the hands as high as they can go, gaze upward. Exhale out, cactus. Hands coming in and just finding the heart. We'll stand nice and tall through the crown of the head, bend the knees, and sit into chair pose. A nice long spine. We've got a little bit of work happening in your quads, but nothing crazy. Exhale, fold. Find a nice half lift, long spine. Exhale down. Telling you we're going to give your knees a break. We're going to continue that. Right foot steps back, right heel spins. You're looking for warrior one. So this ideally would have hips somewhat square up the front of your mat. Arms coming up, walking wherever your feet need to go in order to be comfortable. Shoulders drop. And then go back to that same kind of basket grip behind your head. But we're not going to tip side to side. We're just going to hold here. Bring the elbows forward and then let them open. So just take a couple of those. If that doesn't feel good to you to be fluid, maybe today you just want to stay open with those elbows and just rest. That's okay too. Last one. Taking the arms out, let them go to a T, and then just sweep a big sweep back up to find warrior one. As you exhale, let your chest come forward towards this front knee and shoot your hands back behind you. Testing a little bit of strength and balance here. Perfect. Inhale, breath, hands come back up. And then you're just going to take your time to transition from this warrior one to a warrior two. So that's kind of an opening of the hip, but you'll probably notice your feet are not where you want them. So you'll probably have to walk what was your front foot over to the other side of the mat so that now they make a better line with your feet. And then just stretch your arms long. Staying in that shape, give me a peaceful warrior. Lean away from your bent knee. Back to your warrior two, and then take side angle. That's when the elbow drops towards that bent knee and comes up and over the head. Back to warrior two. Let's dance one more round. Peace. And then take that strengthening side angle. Perfect. Back to warrior two. Now you get to transition. Hands move towards this front foot. We're going to twist on the back toes and just drop this knee. Now it's not going to stay here for too long, so you don't have to worry. Maybe your hands even come to the inside of that front foot, both hands, and it starts to look like lizard just for a moment. You can turn these toes out to the side or roll to the pinky. All right, friends, front foot is going to move to the back of the mat and you're going to find child's pose. Put your big toes together. Let your knees go wide and drop down through the middle. Perfect. Next natural inhale starts to walk us back up. We're going to move to downward dog and then transition back up to the front of your mat. So if you'd rather just kind of crawl your way up to the front of the mat and get yourself standing, that's fine too. Otherwise, if you want to use that down dog with a small step or two up to the front, maybe a half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the hands up. Exhale, back out with that cactus. Hands come to the heart, stand tall with your mountain. Sink back into your chair. Holding that chair pose, another breath. Your next exhale is another excuse to just let it go. So fold down towards those toes. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Left foot steps back, spin it, find your warrior one. Chest starts to come up, take your time. Hands go behind the head. Find that basket shape. And then elbows in and out. Last one. Next time these elbows are wide, open up to a T, reach the hands up. And then here we go. Exhale, chest folds forward towards your front knee, hands shoot straight back, a little work in strengthen that front leg and balance. Pulling the crown of your head towards the front of your mat. Inhale, breath, bring your hands up. And then just take your time. Opening out, looking for warrior two. So it's not a simple transition. It is simple, but it's sometimes awkward. So if you need to reposition your feet at all to get those hips square, remember that you can. Hold that warrior two. Your shoulders want to lift this up, so just relax them. Peaceful, so lean away. Your bent knee, you lean away from it. And then back through to find your side angle. Perfect. Let's repeat that one more time. Warrior to peaceful. And then show off your strength in that side angle just for a moment. Feel a little inner confidence. Back to warrior. This is our transition to the floor, so it takes a little bit of agility. Turn on those toes, hands start to come down. Maybe you bring both hands to the inside of that front foot, and you embrace lizard a little bit. All right, you're gonna come out of lizard just as you did before. Step back to your child's pose. You can do knees together this time if that feels better, or you can let those knees go wide. Press the belly down towards the floor. Maybe the forehead even sinks into the mat this time. You can give yourself a little massage right there in the middle of the forehead. Just breathe. Slowly taking your time, start to use your inhale breath to transition again. Bringing ourselves to a table. Then curling toes under, finding your down dog. Hips lift high. Right foot lifts up into the air. Give yourself a three-legged dog for just a couple breaths. Really feel strong all the way through the pads of your fingers. Maybe even bend that right knee, allowing it to kind of hang over towards the left side of your mat. Then bring that right foot back to the center and put it down onto the mat. Switch, let's try left foot. It lifts and we hold. Again, sending that energy all the way up through the pads of your fingers. Maybe a little bend in your left leg as you invite that left heel towards the left edge of your mat. Bringing that foot back to the mat. Nice work. Hands this time walk towards your feet. So bear walk those hands backwards. Finding your forward fold. Half lift, strong spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach both hands up nice and tall. Take them out again to that cactus. Bring the elbows over and in front of the face. Chair pose again. This time lift your right leg and cross it over the left knee. The right arm is going to go underneath of the left arm for eagle. Maybe you stop at kind of a karate chop or a hug, or you continue to wrap until you've got wrist to wrist. One more breath. Excellent work. Just take your time. Slowly start to open from that shape. Step as wide as your mat, letter X. And then surrender to a ragdoll. Knees bend. Yep, swing it into the middle there. And just release that low back. You might even notice that you're kind of shaking your head. That works too. Letting it all go. Embracing the spaces for strength, but then anytime you're given the opportunity to be easy, take full advantage. Hands dropping down towards earth. We'll inhale, come up halfway, long spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, back up. Hands reach, cactus. And then pull them in front of your face. As you do, walk your feet back in a little closer. Sink down into your chair. This time, left foot, left leg crisscrosses over, left arm underneath. Create that X shape, giving yourself a nice hug here. We're stopping at wrist to wrist or palm to palm. Long list of benefits in eagle. Exhaling to find your cactus, or excuse me, your letter X again. And then you know what to do. Soften. Yep. And this can be really loose. You don't even have to grab on with your arms. You can just let your hands kind of slide across the floor. Maybe they reach, they want to grab onto your toes, and you get a big stretch up the back sides of your body. You guys make the choices. Just give you some options. All right, friends, from here, hands are going to find earth, and you're just going to turn your heels in towards one another and just start to lower those hips down in between your heels. Looking for a nice wide kneed squat just for a few moments. You're not going to live here. You're just going to hang out for a moment. So see what feels good in your body. Some of us might add a twist, keeping left or right hand on the ground while we reach the opposite arm up. That might feel nice. Or maybe that's not working with your back today and you'd rather just kind of stay steady in that squat. That is perfectly fine too. All right, when you feel ready, the hips only are going to lift back up to the sky. Hands are going to be hanging down towards the earth along with your head, and you're in a forward fold. Inhale, come up halfway, long spine. Exhale, fold. Now this time you get to walk your hands back out, looking for your plank. Keep going until you get all the way to that plank. Wrists under shoulders. If you need to drop your knees, feel free. But if you feel long and strong today, feel free to embrace a full version of plank. Maybe even kind of shifting weight from the toes and a little more forward into your hands. All right, friends, when you're ready, knees are gonna drop, elbows bend, easy, slow, lower, using those triceps. Back to the belly. Take a couple cobras just as before. Remembering that with cobra, we want to keep the gaze just a couple inches out in front of us. Don't lift your chin completely forward. Let your hands feel light. Let those shoulders drop down from your ears. You're balancing on your pelvis. Maybe tops of feet are able to stay on the earth. All right, settle back down, hands walk forward, same pillow shape you took before. Bend the knees, flex the feet, rock those heels from side to side. Keeping that right knee bent, go ahead and extend your left leg long down the mat. Start to reach back with your right hand. Maybe your right hand grabs the top of the foot. Maybe it just kind of grabs onto your pant leg, or just reaches in that general direction. We don't even have to grab it. It's okay if we don't make that connection. Rest the head down on your wrist. Even if we aren't grabbing and yanking on that foot, that's okay. Just let that knee bend. Let your belly, your chest, your legs soften down towards the earth. All right, let go of the leg if you've been holding on. Bring your right hand down or up rather, next to your armpit. So your hand is kind of pressing into the earth. You're gonna reach your left arm straight out to the side, palm facing down. And then with a little pressure in this right hand, you're just gonna kind of push away the floor as you begin to roll yourself towards that left shoulder. So my belly is coming up off the earth. My right knee that was already bent is kind of leaning behind me. Maybe my right foot even comes down and taps on the floor. If this is a big no for your shoulder, it doesn't feel good, don't do it, please. Listen to your own body. Some of you are going to roll where your chest is completely facing in the ceiling. Some of you are going to barely put pressure into that shoulder. Some of us are going to skip it entirely. It's like everybody kind of found their own middle ground, which is perfect. All right, use some slow, easy breath to bring us back to our bellies. Switching out our arms. So now, right arm becomes pillow. Left knee bends. Left hand maybe stretches back and looks for that heel or pant leg or leg. If we can't grab anything, no worries. Just let that hand kind of reach in direction and then just drop to the floor. You might even point your left toes up towards the sky. And then just let everything else get heavy, kind of drop down towards the mat. Surrendering to the shape for just a few more breaths. Slowly letting go of that foot. With the hands, let this left hand come back up on the outer edge of the heart on the left side, outer edge of the armpit. Maybe you stretch this right arm straight out in a T shape to the floor next to you. And you just start to push with your left hand, rolling away. Onto that right arm. Slowly starting to ease our way back to our bellies. Letting both arms stretch straight out in front. Just for a moment, just to reset both shoulders. Your head's probably lifted slightly up off the floor. It might feel nice to plant those hands, but kind of point through your toes and just let your legs lift slowly up off the earth, kind of for a half locust. So you're pushing through toes. And then let the muscles of the legs get softer. Slide the hands back even with the breastbone. Curl the toes under. Back to child's pose. Or tabletop first, whatever makes most sense. And just breathe. Moving ourselves from this child's pose back towards table, slide your right knee forward towards your right wrist. In doing so, you're going to need to kind of pull this right heel off to the side so that you can kind of cut it across the mat at a 45. You're looking for pigeon. If it's easier to get there from down dog, you certainly can go from down dog. But walk that back foot back. Start to settle your hips square, but then forward and into the mat. If pigeon isn't going to work for you today and you need to kind of roll out of that shape and take, Sarah called this deer pose the other day, and I guess that's the name for this. Didn't really ever know it had a name. But bending that back knee, bending this front knee. Got 3 more breaths in this pigeon, just take your time. All right, friends, chest starts to come back up. Toes curl under. You can shift to down dog if you like that as a counter shape. Or maybe you just go to table or even child's pose. Maybe you need a little bit of movement, a cat-cow, or kind of walking of those feet in a down dog. And then just take your time to transition. You're going to the other side. So that means your left knee will come forward towards your left wrist. And then we want to get this left foot out from underneath of us. So if it's still kind of tucked underneath of you so that when you go down, your heel is touching your thigh or your glute or anything over there where it's not supposed to be. Bring this left foot out from underneath you a little bit. So that when your hips do start to square down towards the earth, you're not sitting on any part of that left leg. Then see how you feel. If you need to add a block or a prop underneath that left hip, feel free. If you need to even roll completely out of this and take a different shape, that's an option too. You decide where you feel best. And then just settle in. You got about 3 more breaths on this side. All right, allowing the chest to slowly come back up from earth. Let yourself transition through down dog. This would be your last one of the practice, so if you want one more, feel free. Maybe you'd rather be in child's pose or a little more movement in a tabletop, whatever you prefer. From your down dog, start to transition yourself to knees and then to seat. So either kind of crisscrossing those feet underneath of you, swinging them out to the side. I had a gentleman last night tell me after class that he can now sit crisscross. That he hasn't been able to sit crisscross, and he was like so excited when class ended that he could do it without having to hold on to his knees, falling backwards. So what that means is we created a lot of new space in his hips just by coming for about 6 months, intermittently, actually. All right, so sit nice and tall, and then maybe hinge this belly forward, kind of right at that hip crease. Let the hands settle wherever they feel best. And then I want you to kind of sway a little bit here. You can sway with the neck leading the way, or the torso, or both. Walking those hands back a little closer, start to pull the spine back up tall. Undo your legs, make them go the other way. So awkward, kind of easy pose. Body doesn't usually like this one. This time, instead of swaying so much forward, see if you need a little more space side to side. And then if side to side starts to feel good, then maybe you add forward. But it's not uncommon for this one to just feel like always could use a little attention, because this one's just tighter. Feels awkward. It almost feels like you got one leg bigger than the other, or a knee that doesn't want to bend the same. All right, start to bring that back to stillness. Sit yourself up nice and tall. Pull those knees up towards your chest, and then you're just going to walk your heels as close as they feel comfortable, and give yourself kind of a ball shape here. Hands wrapping around the knees. Maybe your chin falls down towards your chest. Now this is okay too if you want to let your feet go wide, have a lot more space in the middle for chest and belly to kind of come through the center. Or your feet can even be further down the mat. And then you just hinge at your hip crease and kind of fold down over your legs as if you're laying a blanket down over your lap. So it has different variations. We don't have to always be tucked in as tight as we possibly can, squishing and squashing everything in the path. It's okay. You just decide what shape feels best to you. The idea here is to stimulate a little bit of digestion by hugging those knees in nice and close, by stretching the upper back, low back, mid back, shoulder released, tapping into your throat chakra. They got all kinds of good stuff happening. All right, beautiful work. Chest starts to come back up tall. Reach the hands back behind you, almost as if you are going to sunbathe. Walk those heels out, and then just lift through the middle of your chest up towards the ceiling. Now, the further you walk your legs, the less you'll have to work. The further you pull them in, the more you'll have to work. You might even decide that from right here, you'd like to open to full crab. If that feels good to lift the hips, go for it. If it doesn't, stay right there. Close your eyes, sit on that beach, hear the waves, see the sun. Forget you're in Newburgh just for a moment, or Evansville. All right, easing back out of that, especially those of you who've been a crab, let your hips fall back down, walk your hands close. And then we're gonna transition onto our backs. If you brought any props with you, you wanna have them handy, perhaps reach for those, a block, a blanket, strap, really anything that you might like to use here as we start closing out. Knees coming into the chest. An easy rock side to side. And then we'll settle those feet down again. Knees pointed up towards the ceiling. You're setting yourself for bridge pose. For those of you who brought a block and you want to take a more restful bridge, once we lift from the earth, you're welcome to slide that block under your back. If you didn't bring a block, like me, I'm just going to hold the bridge for about 2 or 3 breaths and then ease my way back down. You decide what's going to feel best for you all in these next few moments. So no block, just hold for a few moments. With a block, perhaps you slide it underneath your back. Embrace a more restful version of this posture. Perfect. Slowly starting to lower those without the block. If you don't have a block handy today, I want you to take constructive rest next, because this is going to give you a restful place. That just means you walk your feet wider than your hips, and then just let your knees fall in towards one another. So you'll have to decide how far apart you walk those feet. But the point is for your low back to really feel kind of the pleasure of letting go. So use that gentle pressure between the inner parts of the knees and thighs just to let yourself relax. Those who've had a block behind their back, if you want to lift your feet to the sky for a gentle inversion, or start to remove the block entirely and find us in constructive rest, you're welcome to do either of those options. If you've been resting in constructive rest, maybe you bring your right hand to your heart and your left hand to sweep across your belly. You start to reverse your feet, your legs. You walk your heels towards one another, and then let your knees fall out and wide on your mat. Now you look like you're doing butterfly shape or bound angle here on your back. Let the breath become slow, easy. But still ever present in your practice, knowing that any time our mind starts to pull us from this space, pulling us backwards in time or forward to the future, we know that we can stay right here, present in this moment, just by following the breath. Watching it, let our belly rise on the inhale, And the belly fall on the exhale. Those who have been in reclined bound angle, feel free to stay here for another few more moments. Or if you'd like to explore any other remaining postures, feel free. It might feel nice to pull those knees back into chest one more time, or find a happy baby or a spinal twist, any kind of concluding poses. Maybe feel like they've been left out today. Go ahead and embrace. Or maybe they haven't been left out, but you just want to repeat something again because it felt nice. Now is the space to do that. Slowly starting to move yourself towards the final posture of today's practice, your Savasana. That final resting pose might look very traditional with legs long and extended down the mat, or you might find something different, adding a prop or rolling to your side, whatever you prefer. Today's class, we're going to close with a little guided meditation. We'll travel through a body scan, focusing today on our heart center. Start by just taking a few deep breaths. Breathe in a sense of peace, and on the out breath, let go of any tension. Gather your attention into your chest and your heart center area. Explore this area. What emotions are there to be noticed? Experience a sense of compassion within your heart center. Notice sensations of warmth and openness. With a caring and open mind, one breath at a time, allow all emotions to be what they are. Gently notice them and then let them go. Breathe in a sense of peace. On the out breath, let go of any tension. With a caring and open mind, one breath at a time, allow all emotions to be what they are. Gently notice them and then let them go. Gently notice them and let them go. Slowly starting to become aware of the breath again. Just welcome back in easy, small movements. Maybe you wiggle the toes or wiggle the fingers. Maybe you bend the knees. Rocking, rolling, resting on your right-hand side. Closing out the class, very similar to how we began, so just take your time to move back to a seat if that feels nice. Hands to the heart. When we are born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live a life so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. I have just one life in which to bring joy to others around me. I have but one life in which to bring joy to others around me. Thank you so much for making this time for yourself, not only for your physical body to come and move and breathe alongside us here at SIFT, but to just let go a little bit today of all that mental tension as well. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you again. Namaste. Thank you guys so much.